Welcome, bitches. This is the With Love Nick podcast. There is nothing off limits here. Oh, get on your power panties. Success happens on the other side of conventional thinking. I say this all the time because when I was conventionally thinking, it left me burnt out and drunk. Welcome to this week's episode of the With Love Nick podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of With Love Nick, the second week back after taking 87 years off of recording on my podcast. So I have Liv with me, and I would love to just have her come on, since this is our first time speaking face to face, and just have her introduce herself and really dive into the depth of what you do. But I would love for that to kick off the conversation because I am really interested in how these two things coexist and how you co-create with your clients.
Wonderful. Well, first off, thanks for having me. As you said, my name is Liv, and I really specialize in nervous system and energetics for entrepreneurs because I feel like nervous system is very much a underutilized tool, but underrated tool for a lot of entrepreneurs. And I come from a background of being a naturopath. I went to med school. I went through that whole kind of journey. And so I worked a lot with the nervous system in terms of like physical health and symptoms. And what that actually revealed to me along the way was how integral nervous system is also with money and with running a business. And if there is anyone who goes through it with their nervous system, it is entrepreneurs. It is a completely, different game than, people who work 9 to 5. Being an entrepreneur is a nervous system journey, essentially, in its own thing. Every level, everything you deal with, everything you go through as an entrepreneur, nervous system regulation is so key to that and is so integral to, yes, success, but also the lightness you feel in your business, the ease you feel in your business, and also just allowing yourself to really enjoy the journey as an entrepreneur and perhaps be less stressed. Yes, so that stress doesn't show up in your physical health and your relationships, but also so you can enjoy your business so much more. And so that's why I'm really passionate about like the nervous system work first, and then coupled with the energetics, because I really feel like that nervous system work provides such a solid foundation for entrepreneurs, not only to have success, but to have sustainable success with a calm nervous system where it's not going up and down. They're not spiraling or getting dysregulated or losing sleep or going through anxiety if 1 month is lower than the next, or what's going to happen with this launch. And I know we're going to get into it, but if that was like my short thing, it's just like, nervous system work for me is foundational.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love this because as women and entrepreneurs, we go through enough fucking ups and downs. So I'm just gonna say how much I love this work. And I'm in complete agreement. I already know that we're just gonna riff on so many sweet spots here. But for the people listening who might not understand what regulating your nervous system entails, can you go into a little bit what, like if a client comes to you and they have no idea what the nervous system is, how you regulate it, what the importance is, what would be your first kind of goal to help them experience results within the first few days of working with you? Because these are like intangible results that people can stack to just see massive success. And I've done this in my own work as well. So I would love to hear, like, if somebody came to you and they're just like, no idea what this is, never done this before, what's kind of that first thing that you work through with them so they can actually trust that this is something that will be beneficial for them in their business?
I would say awareness is the biggest key, because a lot of the time I find people may not even be aware that they're having what is called a nervous system response. For them, it's just normal. Oh, like, don't you just feel like this in business? Oh, don't we just live with low grade anxiety constantly? Don't we just have like unsustainability? And so it's really about bringing awareness to perhaps what is currently their normal, the things they're experiencing in their body, and showing them like, oh no, like this is an example of like nervous system dysregulation, right? If no one signs up for your program in 2 days and you spiral, that's your nervous system getting dysregulated. That's what we can clean up. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that that's what it was. Oh, a client defaults on a payment, we spiral. Oh, okay, that's nervous system dysregulation. So and so may not want to be my friend, or my partner may leave me if I become successful, or I won't have any friends, right? That fear, that dysregulation, that feeling in your chest, that pit in your stomach, or is all your nervous system signaling danger. We sometimes just may not be aware that that's what it means. So I find a lot of the times people are experiencing it, they just aren't aware that that is their nervous system response. And so by bringing light to it, they can see, oh, okay, I can see where my nervous system is not on board. I can see where it's currently spiraling or getting dysregulated, and where we can add more calm, more lightness, more ease to what
Mm.
they're doing.
Yeah, I love that. So, obviously, in our industry, there's a lot of narrative around and sometimes arguments around when we are, we have to access this masculine energy in order to exchange currency and sales and marketing and all of this. And really, that narrative of this is a part of business. Hustling is a part of business. Well, of course, you're going to feel over the moon when you have a big sales day or you're holding a lump sum of money or you're investing money. And so when there are these things that have been perceived as, well, this is normal, how do you specifically walk somebody through, well, while we want to be excited when we're holding large sums of money, while it is a stretch when we invest big, when, we are fearful of rejection because of a past trauma that our partner may leave us when we have success because that's how people have always left us when we've reached a certain threshold in our life. Where do you help them find that balance of like, yes, we can be excited, yes, we can feel low, but it doesn't have to be this extreme contrasted thing where it's like, I'm way the fuck up here, and then 2 hours later after this big sale, I'm way down here wondering, I'm stuck in scarcity and lack of wondering how I can do that again. Where do you help them find that balance of especially the feminine and the masculine energies? Because a lot of that nervous system dysregulation is not knowing what to tap into.
I feel like there's so much I could say about this, but where I want to, I think, start off with is, I think we went from like a lot of masculine energy to then demonizing it and be like, all feminine energy, all flow, all of this.
Mhm.
But that doesn't actually provide any structure for your nervous system. So all your nervous system does, it's like water pouring all over the floor with no structure to hold it. And so we actually need some of that masculine structure, because that provides the safety for our nervous system. So to me, anytime someone's pendulum swinging, like, oh, leaving out the hustle, going all towards the feminine, I'm like, no, any kind of pendulum swing we don't do, right? It's always in the middle. So even notice where you might be pendulum swinging, going way extreme to the other end, instead of finding the neutrality in the middle, which is kind of my next point in terms of really bringing that down for them, is getting it so neutral and natural to your system first, so that you can have gratitude, you can be excited, but it's a very grounded excitement. And I'm sure you've experienced this as well. It's not this like flighty feeling in your body where your heart's coming out of your chest. It's kind of like, it's an of course rather than an excitement. You're grateful, but it actually feels landed in your body. It feels normal. And so by getting to that place first, you're actually able to stabilize when those things happen to you. And one example I always like to give, I think, you see people saying, oh, I'm freaking out, I manifested this, or I'm freaking out, this has happened. And I'm like, don't even say you're freaking out, because why is your nervous system freaking out? We
Yeah.
should be like, I'm grateful, but like, it makes sense because I've been getting my nervous system on board with this for the last few months. So of course this happened. This feels natural. We're grateful. But like what I'm feeling now is I'm working on the next one by the time it actually happened.
Oh, I
But again,
love that.
without that masculine structure for your system, you're going to feel up and down. And I think that's where a lot of people are coming to now. What I've noticed from a lot of people coming into my world is that they went to that pendulum swing of like feminine without giving the structure to their business and to their nervous system to hold that safety, versus running on vibes or running on excitement. And I get it. Like there was a time in the beginning of my business where I ran on vibes and excitement. It was the, oh, Stripe notification, oh my god, now we can sell, now we can do the thing. But that's exhausting for your system. And after a while you realize like, oh, this is no way to build like a sustainable business, to have your nervous system getting like just dopamine hits from Stripe notifications. And that's the only thing. And that's what keeps you going. And
Yeah.
so that's why I think it's so important. Yes, as you're growing, we can feel excitement, but we need to really anchor in that structure, that masculine safety for our system to feel more natural and neutral to it. Also, because I think people attach to when those big things happen,
Yeah.
and if they don't happen consistently enough, and you can't see me, but I'm using air quotes, enough, well, then when's the next hit and the next hit? And then they need that hit in order to keep going in your business. And I know you're all about the long game. I'm all about the long game. Yes, short-term things are great, but you need to be able to stay plugged in long-term and have that long-term vision, which is very difficult if you're running on day-to-day dopamine hits.
Yeah. I so agree with that. And it's like it's almost like we need to experience certain things in our business and certain levels in our business to tap into a level of emotional intelligence where we're like, hmm, this isn't how it's supposed to be. It's time to step into the next level where I can actually have the mental and physical stability, cellular stability to sustain a business. Because as we grow, that type of awareness is required to hold large sums of money, invest large sums of money, do all of the big things that everybody raves about. But I think that, one of the things that I truly believe is like emotional intelligence is one of those things that it can't really be taught. I feel like we all have to, yes, we can teach the foundations of it. Yes, we can teach the structure of it. But I truly believe that everybody is meant to experience specific things in order to tap into new levels of emotional intelligence. So it's like at the beginning of our business, of course we hustled our faces off. Of course we were working 12 hours a day saying we were working 15 minutes a day. Like this is how we start. This is how we build a messy foundation and really learn where leaks happen and why they happen, and then we tap into those new levels of emotional intelligence. So and I'm getting somewhere, I promise. But what it comes down to is as we tap into those new levels, we start to trust ourselves more because the awareness it does become so profound that it's like, wow. And then we start to contradict ourselves. And then that's when we start recognizing, well, this physically doesn't feel good. This physically is exhausting, which then I'm mentally exhausted. And I want to know your take on when it comes to regulating our nervous systems because you do that work with all of your clients. I assume that's your big body of work is when we trust ourselves more, we are able to regulate quicker. We are able to learn how to do that quicker because like you were saying, when we get to the point where it's like, well, of course that happened because I've been preparing myself for this mentally. But it's like we have to have a certain level of trust with ourselves to be able to manifest not only what we desire, but the things beyond that. And then when it happens, it's kind of normalized already because duh, we knew this, we trusted ourselves. So where do you feel like the level of self-trust when you have somebody come in and they're ready to do just the big work? You're doing all of the work with them, the regulation, the energetics, they're going all in, they're open to receiving all of it from you. Do you feel like there has to be a level of their own self-trust and emotional intelligence that they've tapped into for the work that you do to be effective? Or do you feel like anybody can just come in balls ablazing and it's like, all right, you're a hot fucking mess. We can do this. Like, where does the emotional intelligence come into like a requirement to get the level of support that you offer?
I would say it's someone who's like not in their victim, is not in their blame anymore. Where like they've taken radical responsibility,
Mm,
whether they know how to, like what that responsibility looks like, but they're like, okay, I know that like it makes sense for where I'm at. I know I'm the reason I'm ready to like learn to like, I'm aware that maybe I used to have these patterns of victim, but I'm taking responsibility now to learn differently. And so to me, it's about someone who's really like ready to be responsible, who can actually hold that duality inside themselves of there are things I need to work on. There are skill sets. There are these things without making it bad or wrong or even feeling shame about it, but is just willing to, you say, go guns blazing. They
yeah.
don't have to be the most enlightened, self-aware person because oftentimes these unconscious things, like I said, are
Mm,
not things we're aware of. And so the first thing we do is bringing awareness. They're like, all right, I know, that I'm ready to like take responsibility and then go guns blazing. And that builds the trust. But without taking the responsibility, where are we going to build trust from? Right. Because
Yeah.
you need to take that first. That's the point, the jumping off point where we build everything.
Yeah. I love that you said the taking the risk, the radical responsibility, because oftentimes I feel like there's this misconception that we have to have it all together in order to do like this bigger work. The bigger work that's like the inner work, right? Instead of just like the business tasks of building a business. It's like the inner work. But really it comes down to we don't need to know the how or the why. We just know the what. And the what is taking the responsibility for what we desire to do. It doesn't, we don't have to know what it's going to look like. We don't even have to know like what exactly we're going to be working on. We just know that this is where we're meant to be, because what's we're doing right now isn't serving us anymore. It's not working for us anymore. So one of the questions that I know that my audience is going to be really interested in hearing about is when you talk about in your content a lot the relaxed like CEO vibes where you can really just build a life of wealth that supports the lifestyle you want to live, right? Building a business structure that supports the relaxed life that you want to live and not like the hustle. And we can't build a hustle structure if we want to live a relaxed CEO life. So when we're talking about still being able to tap into the masculine parts of business, like the sales and exchanging currency and services and all of this, what is one of the things that you say is the most important to work on if you're really deep in your feminine and you don't really know how to tap into the masculine while still keeping your nervous system regulated?
Is to build more structure. 100%. A lot of people I think don't have enough structure that actually allows your nervous system to relax. So I think this is where we talked about before, like going deep into the feminine. It's like, well, the feminine energy, you slow down, you're chill, but they didn't build the structure to hold that. So their business is going all over the place. And it's like, well, no, we needed the structure. Where are we going? Where are we going? So I feel like the big thing is actually building some structure. And that's not to me a hustle. That's just building a business. Like you need
Yes, yes, yes.
structure in there. And that actually gives your system a place to like relax versus too much in the flow with no structure. Well, then, yeah, you don't know where you're going. You can't trust yourself because it's kind of like I said, pouring water all over the floor. And
Yeah.
so, like, it could be like physical business model structure. It could be the structure of like how you run your things, your clients. It could be, the structure of your day, your system. Like, we really dive into all the different things, like, depending on the person and what's going on for them, so that they have some structure so that they can chill. And I think when I say relaxed, a lot of people, yeah, sure, sometimes it is relaxing by the pool or having a bubble bath, but I also mean like relaxed internally, like actually
Yeah.
feeling relaxed. But if you don't
Mhm.
have, for example, the structure of a business model that makes sense, that is like scalable and sustainable, how are you going to relax?
Yeah.
You're
Right.
not. And I know you're a big like fan of like recurring revenue and all that. So like that's something we have to think about if you want to be relaxed. And to
Mm.
me, then that does feel relaxing to the system. Or like we need to work on maybe it's messaging and like your power, because when you have personal power, you have convicted messaging. It allows you to relax and you're not spending time overthinking or, scattering your energy, needing 15 different programs that say use these 5 hooks for reels or whatever it is. And so there's all these different elements through your system that actually provide that structure to relax. And I think those are maybe the connections people don't realize, is that they associate feminine energy with just relaxing, not realizing you also need a lot of that masculine structure, both on a strategic, like makes sense level in a sustainable business model, but also internally in your system where then you can run it from a relaxed place.
Yeah.
And that will change at all levels, right? Running it from a relaxed place at 10K months is different than like 40K months. They won't be the same. And so knowing and being able to adjust, and like we were talking about, having the emotional intelligence to know that, yeah, sure, maybe it worked up until this point, but things will have to change and adjust, and that's fine and that's perfect. That's entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you feel is the biggest, like the biggest difference from somebody who is, it's like starting a business and then 2 days later being like, I'm in my soft girl era. Like, do you have an income? Do you have clients? Like what are you doing? But just because I know that my audience is just going to be soaking this up. If you're listening right now, you're taking notes. I know you are. I know you are. You can't even lie to me. So, what do you think is the biggest difference between the 10, because you use this as an example, the 10K months and the 40K months? Like, what's the biggest difference there between the, like, what would the tapping into the masculine energy look like at 10K months as opposed to like the 40K months?
In all the different realms, to me, it's like an amplification. So like there is like personal power at 10K months, but when we amplify it to 40, like you are getting a lot more convicted. You are getting a lot more specific. You are getting a lot more powerful in your thought leadership and what you're saying. Perhaps you're also attracting a lot more projections or trolls or hate or whatever it is that you then have to be okay with. Because the projections you're going to get there is different than like, oh, it's cute. You have a little, maybe like a 10K month business. That's adorable. Versus like, oh shit, like that you are a different person and people will start to react to you differently, both inside your business and outside of it. So there's, to me, like that amplification, right? Or even like the structure to get you to 10K months. Maybe you did that mainly on proximity. Maybe you did that, however you did it, but to scale to that without it taking more hours, without you maybe working 60 hours a week, it's probably not going to be the same model. It's probably going to have to be different. Right. And so there's all these little nuances, even the safety. Right?
Yeah.
We think about like safety in the system. Maybe you can get behind like 10K, or like for you, that was a big thing. But when you have 40K coming in and people are asking maybe for refunds or defaulting on payments, or like this is happening in your family, and maybe you also have personal things going on, like how do you also react in your safety within there? Because when that happens at 10K months, it's going to be different than when you are responsible for more programs, more clients, a team at bigger numbers.
Hmm.
Can you do that in a way that feels light when maybe also things are going to shit behind the scenes? And so there's so, like, I know you asked for specifically, there's so many different things. And like, even to give like a personal example, my mom has been undergoing like breast cancer treatment since August. If I didn't say it, you would never know. It would never come up in my business because it doesn't affect my business. And
Yeah.
this isn't me being like, oh, I'm cold or I'm not processing. I process very quickly, but I'm also able to hold both in a way that doesn't feel like holding, where it
Well,
doesn't
you
have
know
to
how to
affect
adjust. I mean,
that.
there's the holding your space, holding your own space before you can hold space for other people. And that's learning how to adjust so that you're not bringing your personal life into your business and projecting on everybody, right? It's like what we're going through in our personal life. It's very easy to take that and just project that onto people in through our content. And so learning, being the mature CEO and learning how to adjust, and not just have everything be one identity, I think is super important. And I'm so sorry to hear about your mom, and my thoughts are with you. So, how have you navigated detaching personal things that are going on from, maintaining a successful seven-figure business? Because as a seven-figure business owner myself, it wasn't necessarily a shock to me when it was like, okay, I have this multifaceted seven-figure empire, because I had taken the time that I needed to experience what I needed to experience for that to kind of level out as I went along. So, do you find that that was the case for you, or do you feel like you had to like just jump in and learn how to do it? Like, how did that unfold for you as you scaled your business?
I would say how you even spoke about before, like the preparing, like there were things that you navigate different challenges that prepare you at that level, that when things happen, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I can handle this. This makes sense. But I think not everyone necessarily goes through that preparation work of almost like getting ahead of what you have to be able to handle in your business while everything else is kind of going on. And so it wasn't like, oh my God, this happened, I have to learn. It was like, oh yeah, this is embodiment of my work. I can hold that on. And like, I've also had legal things come up in that time, like stuff with personal, like if I were to get into all of it, people be like, and you still did that? And it's like,
And you're still
well, yeah.
okay? Like,
Also, it's regulation of the nervous system is kind
yeah.
of like my job. I also decided to, pivot my business in February, and like didn't have an income dip, and we're up for the year. And like, to me, that is also something, very big, because I'm embodied in that emotional intelligence, knowing that I can have these skill sets. I'm ready to like put them in place. And like, as you said, a mature CEO, and also as someone I know who's, switched and pivoted herself and implemented it so that you do see like quote unquote fast results. They're sustainable, but there's like a reason why we've been able to do this. And it's because of what we had to strengthen beforehand that has prepared us. And sometimes I think people only think about where they're at right now and perhaps don't engage in preparing and expanding themselves to receive at a higher level before the level is there yet, which is actually what's required. And so perhaps why, like, when things happen, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, just another Tuesday. Like, all right, we can do this. Is because I have prepared myself, not from like a scarcity of like, oh, I need to be able to handle this, but no, this is what, as a CEO, you're not just thinking about right now. You're thinking about how can I prepare, thinking ahead, thinking longevity in all different realms.
Yeah, absolutely. When you when you first started your business, were you like what was your zone of genius? What were you like what realm of work were you doing? I'm curious.
It was like healthy recipes, gut health, hormones, bloating. Then it like moved into like nervous system work with that. So like releasing trauma to get rid of physical symptoms and using that to get rid of like gut health and bloating and hormone stuff and like womb work to fix your hormones and all that kind of realm. So I mean, there are like similar strings coming into
Yeah.
this, but it's like it's definitely very different. I would say like 2 years ago to now, where it's only when I fully let go of this at the end of like 2023, coming into early 2024, when I had to finish up some programs, that I officially like let go of all the health symptom stuff.
Yeah. So I'm like so interested in your story because I love this work. I think you're the only person that I've interviewed on the podcast so far that specifically works in the realm of the nervous system. And so when you were letting go of all of the like physical wellness things from your business, was it something pivotal that happened in your life that made you want to focus more on like the energetics and the nervous system, or did you just get really fucking good at it?
I would say all of it, and I'll explain. So I feel like I was so passionate about that because when I had healed that, when I had gone through that journey, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I want to help people with. But then I kind of got bored because I was like, oh, look at what I've done since I've healed my symptoms. Like there's so much more after healing your symptoms. And so then I was like, well, I don't want to just like help you not be bloated. Like I want to make you rich. I want to make you this. I
Yeah.
want to make you that. And I was doing that with some of my clients. And so it wasn't like a complete 0 to 100. Like I started weaving it in, and I've been doing like money work for maybe a year and a half. So it wasn't like a complete start, but it was like a big letting go because I just feel if I wanted to help people with more than that. And then not to say that that's not enough. Like I understand what it's like when your physical symptoms are your life, and like just to that have that resolved, that's everything. But for me, it got to a point where like I just want to help people beyond that. Sure, I can get you there. Like I'm really good at that. But like, what about life after that? And of course, it's only because I experienced life after that that I got to like then see that I can help you with just more than that. I'm more than just like clearing your symptoms, and I have so much more value to offer. And like, yes, nervous system is great for that, but I saw what nervous system does for money and business, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it got to, I think, the point, and I remember sitting in like meditation in state like February 12th, and I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I can, if I had to talk about bloating one more fucking time, and I can't, like, it was agonizing for my soul. I'm like, this is not a conversation I want to have. And so for me, I just decided in that moment, that was my permission piece of like, I'm just not. I'm just done. I'm just not talking about it. I'm done having those conversations. I'm going to start having the ones I wanted to have 100%.
What
Right. And
happened?
so for me, like getting rid of even like the 20% I was still talking about, like I had to fully let go of that. So I gave myself that permission. And I think a lot of people, when they're pivoting, when they're doing things in their business, they don't give themselves to have the conversations or
Yes.
permission to have the conversations they want to have with the type of clients they want to have. And again, there's nothing wrong with those types of clients. Like I still have love for them. But when I thought about what was filling me up, it was my client who got from like 50K months to 6-figure months within a few months of working with me. Like that shit's insane. Like
Yeah.
that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's
That was just what I was going to ask you next. It's like, what happened when you went all in? Because I have, I work with the most incredible clients as well. But when they first start working with me, it's like there's still one foot in the safety sand and one foot in the deep, like scary pivotal waters. So it's like when you made that choice to go all in, like this is the big work. This is where a lot of people meet the resistance and they're like, nope, fuck no, I'm not doing this. I'm just going to go back to talking about bloating. But when you did that, when you went to the edge, you dove right the fuck off. Like what happened shortly after that?
I mean, business is doing well. Like I didn't have an
Yeah.
income dip. We're only up for the year compared to when I was like talking about bloating this time last year. But I think it's because I had that nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
So I think like even you can decide to go all in, but for me, I never wavered and like this wasn't going to work. I never wavered that I wasn't going to like at least match my income, if not grow. And not an ounce of me got dysregulated of like, holy shit, like I'm letting go of my identity that I've built for the last, what, 3 years. That's huge. I've made a lot of money
Yeah.
doing that. And I still was like, no, we're going all in. And I know you resonate with the whole like being burned down to ash and rising up. Like, no, we're just
Yeah.
going. And there is no other option. And I think that conviction of having that safety built within myself and my nervous system, hence why I'm passionate about the work, allowed me to go all in while having the safety where I
Mm.
then didn't backpedal. I didn't go all in for a day. And I was like,
Oh,
oh,
that gave me
well,
chills.
is it not working yet? Okay, let me like do something on bloating. Let me do something on hormones. I was like, no, we're going and it's full off and I don't need to see the proof right away. Yeah, sure, we had some proof, but I think it was the conviction that created the proof, not the proof that created the conviction.
Mm. Did everybody hear that? Did everybody hear that clearly?
So
This
like
is
I know it's
so
possible.
big.
So when people say like you can't, I'm like, sure, maybe before you hear my story and you're not like sure, like, oh, well, maybe it was easy for you. And I'm like, well, no, 3 months ago I did this. So like tell me again. Tell
Yeah.
me again. Because like it is possible and you can do it. I think a lot of people just don't go all in and maybe aren't focused on the long term. They don't have that safety and or they're looking for that instant gratification, which I knew I was going to be in it for the long haul.
Yes. So it comes back to that self-trust too. It's like, oh, yeah. I love that story and I do resonate with it so much. And I oftentimes show the contrast with a lot of my clients who will say, okay, I'm all in, I'm ready to go. And then 2 days later, they're posting about what served them in the past. And it's like, no, 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 no. we're we're going all in on the self-trust. We're going all in on the knowing that this is what you desire to do. And I talk about the if you go to my feed, you can see where I was like using the fuchsia branding and then like literally the next day it was like a deer picture. And there's like this joke where it's like post a deer pic and might make 50K, right? But it's like when this happened, literally 11 days later I had my first six-figure day. And so it's like I bring that to the surface so often to talk about what it really looks like to be fully convicted in the work that you desire to do and stop giving away to the externals that may have served you in the past. And so I love that you brought that to light and you're just like, well, I mean, business is like doing great and like we're over what we've been doing before and that's just such an amazing piece of evidence that like what really happens when we trust ourselves to go all in. It's like we can't be half in and half out. We just can't be half in and half out because we're not just half in and half out with our content. We're half in, half out with our belief system, the trust that we have in ourselves, the trust that we have in the people who are waiting for us to step into that next level, right? It's half in, half out for every fucking thing. And that's really inspiring. And I know that a lot of people are going to resonate with being at that pivotal point in their business. So thank you for that conversation. And so I would love to know what are you working on right now? Where can people find you? What's your favorite offer that you have going on right now that you can call people into?
Oh, okay. My favorite offer probably is 20K months unlock, which is the method to sustain, land, and anchor 20K months. It's like the energetic work, the nervous system work that takes you like from the 10K months up until there. Cause like I said, there are specific different things in the way you behave and your power, your messaging, your safety, your everything that takes you from one to the next. So it's probably that. But I would say just come over to Instagram at Keep Up with Liv. Come say hi, follow along, see what resonates and go from there.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for joining me and letting us know what is possible when we go all in and that we don't have to be fucking batshit crazy when things go up and down. We can learn how to regulate that and really trust our knowing. So, whew, what a good conversation. Thank you for everybody who joined us and share this with somebody who you feel might be in a place where they need to regulate their shit, get on a level playing field with their emotions, and tap into an equal frequency of feminine and masculine energetics because they will both serve you at different seasons in your business. So, thank you for joining me, Liv. Thank you for everybody who listened. I will see you on the next episode of With Love, Nick.